Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Fabrizio Romano here, as always, to keep you posted on the transfer market. As usual, guys, many news, many updates, many things to say, always here on the channel. And so let's jump into it together. And so here we are, guys, always to keep you updated, always many questions to answer, many things to say. I remind you all the videos here on the channel, all the updates here on the channel, because you can find, as you can see, absolutely everything. And today, guys, let me start by answering questions on Manchester City situation. Why? Because after the game yesterday, lost against Real Madrid and Manchester City eliminated from the Champions League, many questions again coming from Man City fans, and not only about the situation of Pep Guardiola, asking about Pep Guardiola's future, what's gonna happen, what's the status of the situation. After the game was a strange press conference by Pep Guardiola, and I'm not saying that in a negative way at all, but Pep was asked about his future and he was like, when I will retire, I will always talk about Manchester City as we. So when he was saying, we will be back, he mentioned that sentence, next season we will be back. And then when asked about we, if that means, okay, next season you're going to be at Man City, he said, I will always say we when I mention Man City. Same for Bayern, same for Barcelona. I always feel part of my clubs. So, kind of strange answers. Then Pep Guardiola said, guys, you want to fire me, I'm going to be here. So the message was quite positive. I keep maintaining one thing, guys. Manchester City as a club, as management, as ownership are waiting for Pep Guardiola to decide. So at the moment, according to my information, the situation is still open. Pep has 1 more year of contract. So if Pep says nothing, Pep is going to be Man City manager next season. Eventually, if Pep decides to leave Manchester City from now to the end of the season, the name already identified by Manchester City to become their next manager at some point remains, according to my information, Enzo Maresca. Maresca didn't have, so far, any sort of contact with Tottenham or with Manchester United, despite reports in England, because, obviously, also those close to former Chelsea manager Enzo Maresca are aware of the situation and of the interest from Manchester City. But again, Man City are just kind of preparing for when it's going to be time to say goodbye to Pep Guardiola. But it's Pep deciding, and at the moment, Pep has not made any official decision. So this is the situation around Pep Guardiola. Then, guys, many questions I'm receiving also on the managers topic, also regarding the situation of Xabi Alonso. Xabi has not agreed anything to become the next Liverpool manager at this stage. I know there are many reports stating and saying that Xabi Alonso already said yes to Liverpool job, that Xabi Alonso already agreed the contract, that Xabi Alonso is already indicating targets. At the moment, there is nothing done or agreed between Xabi Alonso and Liverpool. There is a very good relationship, there is a lot of respect, a lot of admiration. Xabi Alonso was on the shortlist 2 years ago to become new Liverpool manager, then they decided to go for Arne Slot, also because Xabi Alonso decided to stay 1 more season in Bayer Leverkusen and then moved to Real Madrid 1 year ago. That's the story. Obviously, he's a former Liverpool player, so the connection is very good. But at the moment, still nothing committed, agreed, signed, prepared between Xabi Alonso and Liverpool. So that was important to clarify because I'm getting many questions about that. And so it's a story I want to clarify. On Liverpool, according to reports in Saudi Arabia, I can confirm that it's true that Richard Hughes, Liverpool director, is attracting interest from Saudi Arabia, especially from Al Hilal. So Richard Hughes is now the clear favorite to become a future director at Al Hilal. The point is the timing, when this is going to happen, because Richard Hughes remains absolutely and totally committed to Liverpool project. Richard Hughes is very happy at Liverpool, so he remains completely focused on the Liverpool project, but the interest from Saudi is true, so they are trying from Saudi to find a solution for Richard Hughes, for now, for the future. Let's see what's going to happen. Let's see if they're going to be able to find a way to appoint Richard Hughes, but I can confirm the admiration, I can confirm the interest. Let's see what Richard Hughes decides to do. So that's the story about the Liverpool director. And then, guys, one of the questions I received the most in the last 24 hours is regarding Sandro Tonali. Because on Sandro Tonali, there are many reports. 1 week is about Arsenal, 1 week is about Man City, 1 week is about Man United. What I can tell you guys on Sandro Tonali is quite clear. So, for Sandro Tonali, the intention of Newcastle is not to accept a normal fee. When you see reports from Italy about 50, 60 million euros, forget about that. Has to be a way bigger fee in order to find a solution and sign Sandro Tonali in the summer transfer window. So it must be a very, very expensive deal, a very, very important deal on the financial point of view. Then, when we talk about clubs interested in Sandro Tonali, for sure Arsenal are keeping close eye to the situation, but Arsenal at the moment have not agreed anything, have not prepared anything for a Sandro Tonali deal. You remember on deadline day there was that report about Arsenal and Tonali, impossible, never been a possibility, false. So Arsenal never really entered in conversation because Tonali was never going to leave Newcastle in the final hours of the market, and Newcastle were never going to sell a player like Sandro Tonali in January on deadline day. That was absolutely impossible story. Then, two clubs from the Premier League have called for Sandro Tonali to be informed of the situation. Manchester City and Manchester United are both following the situation of Tonali. So there is a lot of interest from Arsenal, from Man City, and from Man United. Then, in terms of admiration, in terms of interest, there is also Juventus. It's been almost 1 year and a half that Juventus are trying to find a solution to sign Sandro Tonali, but it's at the moment very, very complicated for Juventus financially. It looks like a very difficult, unlikely deal. And so, for Tonali, now genuine interest from other Premier League clubs. Again, we know how complicated it is to negotiate with Newcastle. It's still early stages with conversations with Man United, with Manchester City. Man United, for example, just to explain to you the situation, guys. Man United have several names on their short list for the midfielder. It's not only one or two, because this will depend on the budget, this will depend on who's going to be the manager, this will depend on which kind of player Man United want to sign. Could be one, could be two, so there are several factors that are going to impact who is going to be the midfielder for Man United. It's not only one name. At the moment, the list is including several names. Before they meet internally and they say, okay, let's go for this one. But for sure, Manchester United made some calls to be informed on Tonali. Manchester City did the same, because for Manchester City, Elliot Anderson is a name I maintain for the midfield. For sure, he's very high on the short list. But Manchester City are calling for several midfielders, informed on several midfielders. And then, on Arsenal, they want to do something right back, something up front, and also something in midfield. And that's why Tonali is a name appreciated by Arsenal, but at the moment, it depends also on the financial package, because Arsenal obviously have several things to do on the market, not just one, and so Tonali could be very expensive. So let's see what happens, but for sure Tonali will be one of the big names. And so guys, let me know your thoughts on all these stories, on Tonali, on Pep Guardiola, on Xabi Alonso, on Enzo Maresca, on Richard Hughes, your point of view guys, here in the comments, like this video, turn on the notification bell, subscribe to the channel, see you soon, here with Fabrizio. Ciao!